everybody. Thanks so much for joining this regular monthly meeting. We had a bonus meeting yesterday, regular monthly meeting of the Library Marketing Book Club. It's great to see everybody. If you haven't, and you could type your email into the chat so I can keep track of who was here and send a little follow-up survey, always marketing, to make sure that everything is going good. Somebody made a suggestion that I thought was a great one, and it can be tricky. So if I miss it, I'll see. But if you do have a question during any time or a comment or anything, feel free to use the chat as well. So you can type in. You can type in questions over there, comments over there. I know some of you are on silent for different reasons, and that's cool. But yeah, so the book this month was Marketing Rebellion by Mark Schaefer, and about the most human company wins. It was pretty, I thought, I liked it. I thought it was a pretty good book. There's some really neat stuff in there, some things that weren't in some other marketing books that typically, which was nice, because a lot of times, as we talked about a little bit yesterday, after you read a bunch of marketing books, you start hearing the same stories over and over again, and it gets it becomes a little bit noise. And but anyway, it's good. So let's do what we usually do, and go around real quick and get everybody to just say your name and where you're from, what you do there, and just so we can get to know each other a little better. So Maria.
They're ready for you.
Hi there. I'm Maria Ferkley. I'm at the Andover Public Library in Andover, Ohio. And my official title is Community Relations Coordinator, but I am the sole marketer for our rural library. And I'm working Circ back up. So we're going to mute.
That's okay. Thanks, Maria. Yes, very common. Rachel?
Hi, I'm Rachel Karras. I am the Events and External Relations Assistant at the Leatherby Libraries at Chapman University, which is in Orange, California.
Very cool. Hannah?
Hi, I'm Hannah Rael. I'm the Communications and Marketing Manager at UC Santa Barbara Library.
Cool, thanks. And then again, I'm so sorry that it's the iPhone. I forget. It was
Jennifer.
Jennifer. I did the exact same thing yesterday, Jennifer. Jennifer
O'Neill. I'm the library director at Mamaroneck Public Library, kind of the accidental marketer.
Very good. Not an unusual position for many directors to be in. Thanks, Jennifer. Marcia?
Yeah, so I'm Marcia Literati. I work at the Tenafly Public Library in Tenafly, New Jersey. I'm the assistant director, and just like it sounds like many of you, I do circulation as well as sit at the reference desk, and we don't really have a title of marketing, but that's me.
That's great. We're really glad that, I love that you folks that don't have the title of marketing found this, and hopefully you find it useful. It's great to have you. Shannon?
Hi, I'm Shannon Sandifer. I'm with the Davis County Public Library. We are in Owensboro, Kentucky. It's the western half of the state, and I am the Community Engagement Manager. So my department is responsible for all programs, events, whether they take place here in the community and virtually now. So
cool. Thanks,
for all
Shannon.
ages.
Yes, thanks, Shannon. And Bryan.
I'm Bryan Meyer, Marketing Specialist at the North Dakota State Library.
Awesome. Thanks, Bryan. Okay, well, very cool. Well, thanks, everybody. It's great to see everyone. Oh, and I'm Chris Bovin. I'm the Marketing Director at Jacksonville Public Library in Jacksonville, Florida. Thanks again. So what feedback or what did you think of the book? What questions, suggestions? Anybody got anything to start with?
I'll go.
Hey, Rachel.
So I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed getting the chance to hear from Mark yesterday. And one thing that I didn't want to bring up yesterday, because I was hoping more to talk to other people, because I don't know that this is necessarily a great question for him, but I wanted to get other people's input, was he has, the whole sort of latter third of the book is about totally changing your company from the top down. And I know there are some people in the group who are directors or assistant directors, but then there are a lot of us like myself who are nowhere near the top of our organization. And I was wondering what other people's thoughts were on how to start effecting that kind of change at a lower level in your library's organization.
It's a good question. Very good question. Anybody have any thoughts about that, about changing culture and attitudes and perception?
Although I'm an assistant director, it's hard for me to affect change as well. Why? Because there is a director and a board of trustees, and then we have staff. We have a very difficult culture, I think, to affect change, because we're really set in our ways. And so if I had a staff member who had suggestions, I'd be really willing to listen, and I'd be excited about them. I don't know what your particular situation is, Rachel, but sometimes I think having ideas come down and move up is a great way to have change, because you certainly need everybody's buy-in, not only the top people, but the people who are actually doing the work. So I think it's difficult to affect change either way.
Yeah, that's a good point. And Marcia or Jennifer, being in the top of the administration, what are some ways that you all have seen some opportunities for getting some of those suggestions and helping to influence some of that type of change that Mark talked about in the book? I mean, talking about attitudinal change and cultural change, and I know that we've experienced some things where people have been excited about the library and decided to start their own Instagrams and things like that. And sometimes it's okay, and sometimes it feels not the best. But are there ways that you all channels that you all have found effective for getting more of that buy-in and helping to foster those ideas from other layers?
For me, I would say directors are usually overburdened. Our schedules are usually pretty full. We're thinking in a million different directions at once. Yeah. So to get on the administrator's calendar to make an appointment, don't just walk in with your great idea, because it might be a great idea, but it just might not be the moment for it. Yeah. So make an appointment, have a plan, or at least a sketch of a plan. So come with the work done, ready to present something to me, not giving me extra work. I mean, I'm happy to think things through with you or brainstorm about things, but I don't need an extra project right now. But if you're willing to take on an extra project, that's awesome. And I'm really happy about that. So if you have your data or your thoughts kind of sketched out, and then if you want to come and say that you're willing to pilot something, you just want to try it, it's and see what the results are, where we can go from there. That sounds fantastic. And usually somebody's willing to do something for 6 months. That if you say that it's going to be forever, they're just not going to commit to that right away.
Right. Good advice, Jennifer. Yeah, that really helps. It was interesting. Yeah, talking about in the latter part of the book, like you said, there was a lot about respect and about values-based marketing, and yeah, that to me, if I can speak on that made me a little nervous. Some of that stuff, because I think in some library systems, especially I don't know. maybe I'm wrong, but it seems to me that university library systems, do have are in a good environment for some of that social change and some of that kind of stuff. We've had, as a public library that's a department of the city that reports, well, we dotted line report to the mayor, but we have the mayor right there. Some of that feels like, oh, I'm not sure that we could do that because it, may not align with the government. But I thought the way that he described some of those initiatives, even like the one like the Colin Kaepernick Nike partnership, where it was tough, but they did what was awesome about that one was that how he pointed out that Nike did their research. They didn't just blindly go in and say, hey, we're going to partner with this guy that's getting a lot of heat and a lot of people are not crazy about. And while they took the dip initially, it really made a long-term better impact for them. So yeah, it was scary to hear some of those things because we've all been embroiled, I think, at one time or another in some level of controversy. But yeah, it was pretty interesting to see how he put those together and used a lot of math and formulas for things to come up. So yeah, it's good. It's a great one, Rachel. What else? Anybody else have other things about the book that they wanted to talk about, had questions about, want to see what everybody else thinks?
One thing that I kept thinking of is, well, at least during this time of remote learning, I know just from watching Reddit and reading the student newspaper, a lot of the students are really angry at UCSB and the UC system. They view it as like being very greedy, not helping them. And so I just kept thinking, like, how is the library viewed as a separate entity from UC Santa Barbara? Like, do the students see it differently? And if so, like, how can we keep ourselves away from this anger that the students have? And like, I'm also just thinking about, when this class of students becomes alumni, like, are they gonna feel compelled to donate back to UCSB or the library in the same way that other groups ahead of them might, who like actually got to use the building and maybe have a more of an emotional connection to the building? So I don't know that I have a solution, but that was just a lot of the thoughts that kept coming up for me, because I know that's something I see repeatedly in the student forums, is just a lack of trust of the UC system.
Yeah, and trust is super important, and Hannah, I feel, again, kind of just, but I'd love to hear from some others, but I do feel the same way. Like, I feel like the library has the public library does have a different level of trust and an opportunity to gain trust differently than the city government. We work real closely with them. I work real closely with their communications team. I see all the feedback that they get and all the mayor letters that come in and those kind of things. I'm like, wow, I'm glad that ours isn't like that. But yeah, so what are some of the others? I know there are a few others that are at university libraries or others that are, maybe inside government. Anybody else have any thoughts about that? Like what Hannah was saying, is there an opportunity to develop maybe an identity or a brand or trust for the library separate from the institution or the government?
Well, when I was reading the book, one thing that kept coming to my mind is public libraries do have a brand, like in general, right? Yep. People in general trust public libraries and they think librarians are very smart but they, at the same time, I think that we're old-fashioned. So I felt like maybe it's not even our personal library brand, but coming up with a way to use the trust that people, not use it, but capitalize upon the trust that people have in us to show them that we're not outdated and they do need us. Certainly during this time of COVID and the Zoom, you know, we've had so many online programs, which I'm imagining prior to this, people were like, what? Had no idea that we could even do. But I'm coming up with that issue too. Like, how do you get your message out? You know, we do all these Instagram, Facebook, blah, blah, blah. We don't have our word of mouth, our in person anymore. How do we do it? We can't, my library can't pay for advertising.
Yeah.
And which is, I guess, a good thing. We're not supposed to in this marketing rebellion, but you know, I'm stuck with the same thing. Like, I get it. I'm excited by what he said, but I just don't know how to put it into effect.
Yeah, there was a couple things, if I can share a couple things that Mark said that I think might touch on that from yesterday. So, you know, we talked about the influencer marketing, and you know that was an interesting thing I thought in the book, and how you know it's well, is it you know, you have these celebrity influencer things and sort of paid influencers, and is that really valuable, and is that trusted? Can that potentially erode your trust? And you know, Mark agreed that it certainly can. You know, but he was talking about how do you connect with the people in your community, maybe not, you know, the people that are you know, instantly tagged as an influencer, but people in your community that are the mommy bloggers and the daddy bloggers. And, you know, if you know, if there's people writing about politics and things that touch on what you do, the people that already are seen as trusted authorities might be better influencers than, you know, going out and buying, you know, influence or buying an influence. So that was, you know, and he said it, you know, he said it doesn't take much money, or maybe not any money. And people want to be acknowledged and have a trusted audience. So it was, you know, and he talked about marketing his book, and he marketed his book. He said the most effective thing he did to market his book was send out influencer kits to people that were in the industry. So, you know, so there is that influencer model. If you can find the right people, and find ways to connect with them, that might be, you know, and just listen to what they're saying, that might be an interesting way to connect. And then another thing that he talked about, and he used this acronym throughout, was AIR. So it was, you know, he talked about 10% of the population are super sharers. So you can always count on 10% of the population to be the ones that are just going to share whatever they want to share, whatever they think is great, whatever they think is passionate. Then he talked about looking at stories, about how do we get a story out there so that we can gain a little bit more share. And he said stories have 3 characteristics, and that's where this AIR acronym comes in. And the A is authentic, the I is interesting, and the R is relevant. So, you know, is it authentic and believable? Is it interesting enough? And this was neat. I thought he talked about, can it pass the brunch test? Is it interesting enough that somebody would talk with somebody else about it over a meal, like over a brunch? And then the relevant is, you know, we don't want to, the library doesn't want to create stories about Harley Davidson motorcycles because that's not, you know, adjacent to the library. But, you know, you might want to talk about the history of your buildings, or, you know, how you connect with your community in different ways, in a historical way, and how, you know, things like that. So he had this recommendation to start by answering this question. He said, if you, or fill in the blank, and the sentence is only we, and then fill in the blank. And he said, if you can fill in the only we, and he said, it's not easy to do because, you know, it's hard to find things that you can be unique and valuable at. But he said, if you can, that's where you start to get really good stories out of. So it was really interesting. And by the way, we did record the meeting yesterday, and I'll make sure that everybody has a chance to look at that. So again, make sure, one more plug for, get your email message in the chat. So I'll make sure that y'all get the recording from yesterday, because it was really cool. So those were a couple things, you know, that kind of touch on that idea of how do we talk with influencers, and how do we connect with our community. So yeah, hope that's useful, Hannah. I don't know, you know, it kind of diverged a little bit, but I think it still is the idea of being, you know, connected with your community to like Marcia was saying, expand on the trust and use that, yeah, it's hard not to say use that trust, but capitalize on the trust to build your own brand. And I think you can. I mean, the one of the university libraries here, I feel, has a pretty strong brand, separate from the university. So I think it can happen. What other things from the books or other ideas about this?
Well, one of the suggestions yesterday, and I apologize that I didn't write down who shared it. One of the women on the call was talking about Valentines, she makes little heart Valentines, and she asked patrons to fill in, I love my library because, and they fill it in, and then she sends them to her legislators. So walk with me. And this is our box that we're going to put outside. It has a little slit on the top, and we're making little heart Valentines where people can write on them. We still have curbside service, so we're going to give them to patrons and give them an opportunity to tell us why they love us.
That is great. Jennifer, can I ask, did you already have that rolling, or did that kind of come out of yesterday's meeting?
That was yesterday's meeting.
Sweet. That's so cool. That's so neat. I love that idea too. I thought that idea was so great. And it's the season. Here anyway, it's the season right now for us to be talking to our legislators. So how timely is that? That is really, really cool.
Well, we put those comments on our new website that we're rolling out in a couple of weeks, and I can just continue to use them on social media, etc. So It's always nice to have the influencers in their own words saying why they like the library. So
yeah. Does anybody have a library ambassador program or anything like that? I've always been curious about starting one, but takes work. But anybody have something? JD, did you have?
Right. So we were supposed to be starting this right as COVID hit. I mean, it was going to go out, and then COVID. So we got it all sort of started, and then we didn't do it at all. But going along with what Jennifer said, I've been studying and looking at how we can generate user-generated content, which for library systems, and really for any business model, that user-generated content is what I feel that I need to start looking for. Yesterday, somebody gave us a Google review and said that our children's librarian was like Kootenai County's Miss Frizzle, and I went, I need to find a way to use this. She is a bit of a Miss Frizzle, and I need to use that, but I need to find things that are both appropriate to share, and I feel like that's the line. We get a lot of parents that will post photos of their kids with things that we've given them. And I don't know, I feel like I need to have a meeting with my children's librarian and with my director, and I really need to know where that line is. They have shared a photo of their child. Can I then continue? Can I then use that photo? That user-generated content is what I feel like I really need to grab onto right now.
That's very good. No, it definitely is an important thing to find the voices of users for the library and see what they see how they resonate with others, because I think people are going to enjoy that. Does anybody have anything on the thing that JD was saying about using photos, reusing photos? Does anybody, we have a release form. We try to get it whenever we can. It's tricky. We have I have maybe unilaterally decided that if they post it on social media, it's fair game. But does anybody have any specific experience or processes that have worked well with getting permission for using some of those photos? And anybody have anything like that?
We often, because we're very small, very rural area, and our local newspaper, she stalks our Facebook page because she's desperate too. And she will, if we have pictures that we have posted, they'll then ask too. But over summer reading, we had a few people post pictures and it was more difficult to get permission. But along the lines of the, what you love about your library, we're not sending any to legislatures because that's not really what we need to do for us. But we had a lot of success last year when we were, open to the public for Library Lovers Month and getting people to fill out the heart. And we had polls filled with why they love their library. And we're doing something similar again this year, but online, virtual, where they can fill out a form on our website. They have 3 ways that they could enter to win something, but it's what they love their library. And then I want content because that's me, that they can have an extra entry if they upload a photo of them outside of our library. And then, or if they made a browsing appointment and came inside the library and upload a photo of them inside the library or with their library card, their Andover Public Library card. And I built in a permission into the form.
Good idea.
So that they would have to click yes or no. They have an option that they don't want to share it. They don't have to, but that's what we're doing currently.
That's a good idea. Yeah, it's a good idea to build that in. I like, making an interesting thing and then get them built in. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool. Yeah, we did something where when we opened some libraries for new hours, we put up these big sheets of foam core and had people take just Post-it notes and just slap it on there of what they like about, the extra hours, how the extra hours of the library do them. It was really useful. It was really, really good stuff. We got a lot of really cool comments. It was pretty fun. So yeah, those can be excellent. They can be very useful for lots of stuff. But yeah, there was something else I was thinking of, but while I think of it, what other things did anybody think of, or just, again, we're a bunch of marketers at libraries. If anybody has questions that needs help with anything, that's great too. But yeah, what any other things that came up when you were reading the book or ideas?
I just wanted to mention something along these lines that New Jersey does actually. Sure. Every year they have, I think it's since like the early 2000s, they do something, Library Snapshot Day.
Yeah.
And it used to be like one day and you just sent in whatever pictures you had of people doing things in the library. It could be program, whatever. And then there's the hashtag that everybody uses. So this year they're making it a whole month, which is like, it's hard to keep up an excitement for a month. But the cool thing that they've done this year is they have stickers that you can, if people upload photos, that you can, there's stickers that look like the border around a photo, or like those instant photos, Polaroids we used to have. And it says Library Snapshot Day or something like that. So you could actually, kind of brand it to that. So we'll see. I don't know exactly how we're going to participate, but things like that, it's fun when it's one day because you can, get some interest. So that's like, I love my library on Valentine's Day, right? Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, we're doing Shelfie Day. So Shelfie Day is tomorrow. So we have about, I want to say 40 pictures of our staff with library shelfies that we're planning on using to get some energy around people sending in their shelfies, so it should be a lot of fun. But staff had a fun time with it too. I mean, we had a whole bunch of great photos. And the other cool thing about that is now those are all photos that we can use in any other communications that we want. And you know, like you're saying, JD, with getting photos of you know, patrons and their kids and things like that is great. You know, anytime I think you can get a smiling, happy person using the library can make a good impression. So I think it's very helpful. But yeah, Marcia, those are great. And yeah, Library Lovers Day, and yeah, I remember we've never done as much with Snapshot Day. We'll have to see. Do you know what month it is?
Well,
Or is it by state?
Well, I know New Jersey's is the month of February, but it
Oh,
used
okay.
to be one day in February. Now, but Chris, I'm curious now, how did you get your staff to take their selfies? Did you give them a prize? Were they just into it because they thought it would be fun?
Yeah, good question. A few reminders. So so the first thing I did was I sent out a message asking everybody to take their shelfies, explained what that was, and I included my own. So so I think that helped, was kind of leading by that and saying, hey, here's mine. So, you know, pretty easy to do. I also gave them some instructions for how to get a good selfie that I'd seen, you know, kind of over the years online about, you know, hold the camera above your eye level so you get the, yeah, you get that good lighting, and then you know, if you give a little laugh and then you rest, that's a good smile. So I think people had fun trying that out. And then and it was though like a couple reminders. So it took a couple reminders to get them. And yeah, luckily I was pleasantly surprised, because we don't always have that kind of engagement with staff stuff, but they rolled in, and now we also did kind of tell leadership. So we had some leaders in the library to participate, and that I think helps get people a little interested in it. So yeah, it was I'm very pleasantly surprised that we got a good return on that particular campaign from staff. Yeah. Yeah. So what else? Anything else anybody thought of? There was trying to see. So I listened on Audible. I don't know if how everybody listens to books. Or I guess I should say I listened to Hoopla or Overdrive, but it wasn't there. You know, I like that he said not on storytelling, but on story making. I thought that was a really interesting way. I think, you know, JD, that talks to what you were saying about user-generated content, about making stories and not just telling the stories. And you know, and then he also had the idea of don't give me more heroes, make me a hero, which is consistent with a lot of books that we've had. But yeah, JD.
So right now I'm ramping up. I'm actually brand new in my job.
Where are you, JD? Because we missed your intro.
Yeah, I didn't get to come in on time. I'm in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Okay. So like Canada. Okay. But with a lot of white Republican people. So I was the branch manager of a branch inside of a high school. A public library inside of a high school, but not a school teacher. Anyway, so that's where I was, but I did a lot of marketing stuff because that's what I like to do. I did all the marketing for our Comic-Con. We do a 2,500 person Comic-Con every year. Nice. And so I did all of that. So like coming into this job is sort of essentially the same thing. But I'm just starting, and we do a writers competition every year, and it's big. We've done it for I think 30 years. Everything gets bound into like a beautiful book, and they're all here. So it's a set up thing. This thing happens every year. I'm trying to make it happen without any of the stuff being done. Like it was supposed to be done in September, and I'm trying to do it now. But what I'm also trying to roll out is we don't like I don't like anything that goes with the summer reading program this year. I think it's really unattractive. like terribly unattractive, which is very strange because it is all online and it could have been really great.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're giving the theme of Tales and Tales, but we're asking kids and teens to send us their artwork, and I'm going to take that artwork and translate it into the entire summer reading program advertising.
Wow.
So if they give me like a little figure, I will either just like be able to use that little figure, or I'll translate it into a cartoon and it'll be on everything.
Wow.
And I'm really excited. I hope it doesn't fail. I hope that I get something that's super usable and cute, but
Yeah.
we're giving them a theme, and I'm really excited for that. And I hope I have a lot of work to do.
How are you soliciting for that? How are you getting people to do that? Is it what ways are you getting that message out
So
there?
it went out in the newsletter. The newsletter is fairly viewed. It's a Facebook website thing that went out in the new year, and then it'll all go on Facebook. It'll all go on the website. I'll hopefully get a hold of some teachers, high school and K through 6. I have no idea.
No, that's great.
Other than that, I don't know.
Anybody have any advice or guidance for JD on this? Anybody had any successful campaigns like this where you've solicited artwork or things like this from kids or the community?
The only time we've had success with something like that is we definitely gotten the teachers involved and the school librarians, and they were the ones who really, promoted it. Some of them even make it part of a class lesson and then just give the whole classes submissions. So I would say the teachers definitely.
It's a little bit strange because essentially I don't really need a lot of entries.
Yeah.
I would like a lot of entries because I'd like to be like, hey, here's an entire slideshow of everyone's, like I want to show them the work. But essentially I just need like one of each. Just give me one and I will make something out of it. It's the writers competition that we really want a lot of entries so that we can, but the teachers already know about that. So what I'm trying to do is like keep all those dates together and package them together. We're doing this that we do every year. You know about it, you remember it, but we're also give us your artwork. So it's like a writing and an artwork sort of thing. So yeah.
I think, I think just the other thing that I did that worked well with the thing that I was talking about, the shelfies, not only did I send my picture in the first one, but in the reminders, I sent a sample of the pictures that we had gotten of staff. So again, it kind of gave people that idea of, oh yeah, other people are participating in this. I don't have to, worry about it. So, maybe JD, think about, in your first ads, whatever your ads, whatever your promos are. And then maybe in your follow-up and reminder ads, if you've gotten some artwork, use that artwork and kind of get that out there. I think that would be a big help.
I feel like it's definitely not, I'm not going to show up to the costume party being the only one in costume.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
People are doing this. I can do it too.
Yeah. The other thing that we're working on is we're doing a library video. So this is like a video series of people talking about how they're passionate about reading. And I'm in a similar situation to you where I only need like 1 or 2 people, but I do want to open up this, opportunity for anybody who wants to tell us why they're passionate about reading. I want to have people like record a little video of themselves. And so there, what I'm going to do is just set the expectation that, you may end up in this video, or you may end up in another video, or we may use you some other way or something like that. So I think, setting expectations might be real helpful. So yeah, it sounds like a fun project. Look forward to seeing more about it. So yeah, anything else? Anybody else got anything going on they want to share, or, again, anything connected to, some of the ideas in the book?
Well, I have to take off in a couple minutes here, but one thing that I found kind of refreshing is that in the beginning when he was saying, like no one really has a full handle on this, not even people at major companies that have the biggest budgets and can do whatever they want. And so that made me feel better. And then also in reading more, I felt like it's actually a lot of the type of content that seems to be doing better in this third stage of rebellion is stuff that doesn't necessarily require a big budget. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity there for libraries to, be able to produce some really great content that you don't need to be a Coca-Cola.
Right. Yeah, it definitely was. Yeah. Oh yeah, go ahead.
There was a story it went national about a library in Massachusetts that was finding baked potatoes outside.
I don't know if I heard that one.
And it funny was that somebody wrote in the article, the reporter, that, was this some kind of a guerrilla marketing campaign or something? And I was thinking, good Lord, are we at the point where we're dropping baked potatoes out? Like, I just thought that was a peculiar take on it, that perhaps this was done intentionally for somebody to get some media attention. But then I thought, wow, that would be genius. If it really was. That library's got really great planning and willing to take risks. So I encourage you to look for that story. It was in Massachusetts, and it was the library and the baked potato.
I'm gonna stop and get a bag of potatoes tonight. No.
We can start a nationwide library global guerrilla campaign. We'll just start dropping potatoes.
Yes, that's great.
So my library was the library that we had people hiding books. I know everyone's people do that. They hide books, but we got nationally news, and Stephen Colbert sent us a giant copy. It's like 75 pounds of his book, Whose Boat Is This Boat? And people came from all over to see it. We had thousands of dollars in donations, but we definitely had some local patrons that were like, you made that up. Yeah, we made that up. And then we got Stephen Colbert to come to our library and send us a 75-pound book. Or it's huge. It is it's massive. I don't know what we're going to do with it.
That is so cool though, but that's funny. I know people think that that's so easy to get that kind of attention. And it's like, man, I can't even sometimes get on the local news about something seems like it would be super exciting.
Yeah. I've got a great aunt in England who literally saw it on the BBC.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I worked at a library that we were knocking down because we were building a new library. So we had to clean everything, take every single thing out of the library. And we found a lot of liquor bottles. So maybe I should have written to Bacardi or something. No, absolute. Maybe we could have got a 75-pound bottle or something.
Yeah, we need some full bottles for the new library.
They were in the collection, the airport ones, and then a little bit bigger, but there were quite a number of them.
That sounds so funny. JD, so I didn't hear the story. I'm going to look for it for sure, but what was the hiding books? So you mean hid books around town, or?
No, so somebody was finding books on feminism, books on what is that one? We even had one of the authors come, and she was like, they hid my book. I'm going to give you 50 copies of it. But just liberal leaning books, and they would hide them in places that you don't shelf check all the time.
Right.
And then it comes out that when you hide them, we have to buy them again. So your tax money is literally buying these books multiple times. So it just got picked up by the local news, and then it got picked up by national news or statewide news, and then national news and international news. It's nothing that happens everywhere. But Coeur d'Alene is very, 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 very conservative, and very known for white supremacy and all of these things. And we're trying to change that. None of those big organizations are in Coeur d'Alene anymore. They left. We don't have a KKK parade anymore.
Good.
That hasn't happened in like 20 years, but it did happen. And those ideas and those people remember, people know that that's what it's like here. And so we just remain white. And yeah.
I like that idea though, between you and Jennifer is, those stories of, I don't know, it's probably not a thing, but, like an Instagram account of things found in library shelves, whether it's liquor bottles or, other books. I'm sure we probably get tons of, religious pamphlets probably everywhere, I'm sure, and other things.
I have a collection that I have that eventually I'm going to show. It's of weird bookmarks.
Yeah.
People in their books, they return them. They're weird stuff that they have. I have a little collection. Eventually, I'm going to post something about it.
I just think people would think that was so much fun to see that. There's an Instagram account I follow called Found. It's from Found magazine, and it's little found notes and pieces of paper. And man, I just think it's so interesting. So
there's a TikTok thread of bookmarks that a used bookstore finds, and I commented in mine. Librarian here, large smash spiders. I have found like a large smash spider in a book return, and that, like, I got like thousands of likes on that. Just a large smash spider.
That's so funny. Yeah. Well, these are, like, like Hannah was saying, it doesn't cost much for you. You never know, and obviously you never can, you can't plan for something to go viral. It's just not possible. That's not how it works. But sharing these things, can engage the community and can be different ways to get people interested. So yeah, super cool. Yeah. What else? Anything else that anybody wants to share? We got a few minutes left to go. I know we've talked about this for a couple of days, but this is great. I really appreciate y'all joining. If for a second we can just talk about the books for the book club. Does anybody have any recommendations? We heard of at least one yesterday. Maybe anybody have any recommendations? One thing I did talk about was maybe even straying a little bit further from marketing type books. Maybe there's some other topics. Certainly productivity can be really interesting, books on productivity. Found some interesting ones on that are kind of rooted in engineering and software, but they're not so dense in that language that they're not approachable, but there's some interesting concepts talking about adoption of technology. But any other books that anybody's thought about or read recently other than this one that that they thought might be a good candidate for something to read?
I didn't look for a title or anything, but I'm wondering if something about how to change and changing your organization, which we talked about and they talk about in marketing. I didn't do any research. I'm sorry.
No, it's a great topic.
I think there are a lot of new ones out there because our world is in flux.
Yeah, change is happening. So yeah, that's a great idea, Marcia. I'll look for some things around that. Yeah. So we talked about. So Mark did talk about. I'll plug his new book because he was nice enough to join us yesterday, and certainly, if so a couple things. If you haven't listened, Mark has a podcast called The Marketing Companion that's really pretty good. It's a real nice mix of marketing and non-marketing, and kind of speaks to that. Mark has found these trends very early on, so it's interesting to hear the things that he's talking about. So he's got that. He has a blog called Grow that is a really popular marketing blog that you might want to check out. And then he's got a brand new book that I think that he said just hit Amazon, and it is called. I have a note here, and I can't find it. Does anybody remember the title of his book? Cumulative Advantage. So it's all about like momentum in marketing and some other things. As far as being, he talked about, in the past, the motto was to be relevant, interesting, timely, and entertaining. And then until about 2015, it wasn't enough. And then you had to be superior. And he talked about even kind of being superior, being great might not be enough because it's just so much noise. So this one he talks about momentum and very much to what Hannah was saying earlier, if you don't have the resources, what do you do? How do you compete? And this is, a book that is based on some things about, building off momentum and gaining momentum. So it was pretty interesting. I will be, like I said, getting this video out soon. Oh yeah, Leadership Challenge. Good recommendation, Jennifer. Thank you. Yeah, that would be a great one to look from leading from where you are. Like you said, it was a great topic that we talked about a little bit earlier. So last thing I want to do, we have 4 of you that were brave enough to stay till the very end. So you guys don't know what position you are in my screen. So Marcia, I'm going to ask you to pick a number from 1 to 4.
3.
Marcia, you're in the 3rd position on my screen. So you self-selected. So Marcia, this is the prize for staying till the end. Marcia, whatever the book is next month, I will send you a copy of the book for next month.
Thank you. That's excellent.
In whichever format works for you. So so if you stay to the end, you have a shot at a prize at getting a book for the next month. New thing that I'm just starting this meeting, and I thought that it might be fun. And anyway, and also, please give me feedback when we select the books early on if you're having trouble finding it. I do want to know that so we can kind of temper how to pick some of our books, and because I want everybody to have a chance to read it. Yes, you may not always be able to find it in the library. In some cases, it may be even tricky to find, other copies. One set of books that I want to see about, and this may be like a bonus, separate meeting, are some of the ones that are written specifically about library marketing. And the reason I'd want to do it as an extra one is because they're mostly not in libraries, and they're also mostly pretty expensive because they have like that academic pricing, so like 40 or 50 bucks. So did anybody have any thoughts about that, about those library marketing books?
Sometimes the library consortium would be willing to get it, and then they'll share it with their libraries.
Good idea, Jennifer. That's a great idea. I'll make sure to keep that in mind too. Yeah, but very cool. Well, that's all I have for today. And if y'all don't have anything else, it's been awesome talking with you. And thanks so much for joining, and thanks so much for joining the club, and look forward to talking to y'all again very soon.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks.
Thank you. It's nice to hear everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.